Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a great webinar planned about ERP systems and purchase orders, how to save money on ERP licensing. We've got a lot of interesting things to share with you today, but before we dive into it, just a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, this will be high level today. There's a lot that we could go into. Obviously, each organization's configuration is a little bit different depending on your ERP system and your needs. So we would definitely recommend having a one-on-one demo, one-on-one conversation afterwards if you're interested. We can get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty with you. But that being said, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask questions as we're going through. If you have any questions, there's that box on the right side of GoToWebinar. Just pop your questions right in there. We'll be monitoring that. And lastly, this will be recorded. So we'll be uploading the recording to our website as well as our YouTube channel. And if you registered, we'll also email that over to you tomorrow. So that being said, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Ryan Stefani. He'll be going over all of this, this fun new information for us today. He's our solutions architect here at Crow Canyon. And we as a company, we've been around for over 25 years. We're GSA certified. We're a Microsoft preferred business application, a California certified small business. We've got we tick all the boxes, you know. But ultimately, I know we are not here today to hear about us. We're here to hear about the solution. So with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and hand things over to Ryan. And Ryan has a great demo for us today.
Thank you, Krista. Let me change presenter here and make sure I do the right screen. Got it. Okay. All right. So purchasing, purchase requests. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about the application itself. You know, like how is it architected? Where does it sit? I think that's important when discussing, you know, like a cost savings from an ERP perspective. So you can see here, like if you're keen, you can see in the upper left-hand corner, this is a SharePoint URL, right? In my demo environment. So essentially, this is a SharePoint application, Office 365 application, Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, right? It's an extension of that space. So this would live inside of your Office 365 world, which then ties back to that ERP thing where you already have everyone in Office 365, right? You're not having to pay for additional ERP licenses for people to submit purchase requests. We've done it a few times, well, a lot in the last 6 months, Dynamics, SAP, NetSuite, some middleware as well, to name a few, where it's just, you know, they've either tried to give everyone licenses or, you know, managers of people licenses, and it all flowed that way, and it ended up just being kind of convoluted. So living inside of that 365 space, the way that people access or submit new purchase requests is with their 365 login, right? Things that they already use, like Teams, like SharePoint, to be able to submit purchase requests and route them through an approval process. Now, second bit of housekeeping. Since this is in SharePoint, lists, libraries, pages, right? Reports, dashboards, everything you're seeing here. This is built on something that we call NITRO Studio. So NITRO is essentially a proprietary tool set built, managed, and maintained by Crow Canyon. So this is our iteration of maybe like InfoPath or the Power Platform, right? Our forms, our workflows, custom actions and manually invoked workflow. We'll talk about this in a sec. Reporting, branding, etc. So, okay, what does that mean? Well, if you take the fact that it's in your 365 environment, leveraging your user count, and you have the application layer, application development layer included with the tool set, it really is yours to run wild with, right? That means you can change forms, you can add users to different permission groups, you can create workflows, right? You have the keys to the car in that sense of going out and making this application your own. Because like Krista said at the beginning, every purchasing process is different. I haven't seen two alike. Obviously there's similarities, but everyone has their own structure in which they permission and approve their purchasing, right? So the nice thing here is that we're also not going to leave you stranded too. We're definitely going to help you get up and running for the initial implementation. But if you're like, hey, Ryan, I want to change a column, you know, on a form. I want to update that. I want to add a report. You have that autonomy to do so without having to come back to us to make those changes. Okay. on SharePoint, running on NITRO and Office 365. So the structure of the application is pretty straightforward. Essentially, the workflow looks like this. New purchase request is form, and this form is going to look pretty generic, right? Let's talk about it a little bit since we're here. Essentially what I've done is we've created a bunch of different metadata columns or SharePoint columns that we capture on the form that helps route for the approval process. Type of purchase, department. We're going to get a total customer line items here, right? Who is it for? Reason for purchase, right? All of that content kind of filters into that approval process. So at any point in time, like I was saying, if you're like, hey, I need that column, or I need this column, or hey, you know what? Everyone should be submitting a purchase rec that is budgeted. They know better. Like we can always remove, add, retain columns to make it make sense for you guys, right? But the goal here on this form is to capture information, like I said, for approval, right? New purchase request, what's today? 16th? 24th, right? Do certain people approve expense requests? Does it have to go to that team's manager first, right? Now, do we want to give them a catalog or be able to free type in their own items, right? Oh, like, hey, here are the common things we purchase as hardware assets. You need a new laptop, you need a new iPhone, you get this one, right? And you can add it on. Well, maybe I want an iPhone, but some people require me to have an Android. I don't know what they're called. I don't have an Android. I'm just gonna say Android phone. Guys, bear with me. Right? Oh, and it's coming. I'm gonna buy it on Amazon, right? So it gives them that ability to either free type in or pick from a catalog for this approval process. So now you can see we have all that information, right? We have total cost, we have type of purchase, department, right? All of that content, that metadata. So when they hit this little button right here, this custom action, right? What I said earlier, this guy, this manually invoked workflow, what we're gonna do is we're gonna query this list in the back end. Now from them, for the end user's perspective, they get these green check marks. Call them the warm and fuzzies, because it gives them the ability to say like, oh, it was submitted for approval, right? They can see it. Now what this is doing is it's querying this approval levels list on the back end. So, like I was saying, is it the department? Is it the type? Is it the amount, right? Like what information are we capturing on that form to make sure that the appropriate approver is assigned to the approval task? It's actually a really cool thing we do inside of SharePoint. So let's say this purchase rec was submitted. And it's in the system here. And now what we can do is we can take that information we captured on the form, that first sheet, right? And now we can see these approval tasks associated to the purchase request. So the cool thing here is that we can have a linear approval process, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and without having to step on each other's toes. The big limitation in SharePoint. This piece right here is one of the main reasons that NITRO Studio exists. For those who remember InfoPath, it was called repeating rows. But essentially, once we query that list, we find the right approver. The task gets assigned to them. Now, as the approver, there's a few different ways that I can go about this. I can come in and I can approve the task, right? Hey, I'm gonna say approve, deny, or send back, and here are my comments, right? Am I crazy? Can't approve it. Let's find another one I can't approve. And then let's do this let's find a better way here. There we go. I think it was just a loading thing. So let's say I come in and I approve this guy. Right, and I can add my comments. This is approved. This is denied for whatever reason. Right. So this is easy for me. For some folks, I don't know. For others, coming in and completing a task is like pulling teeth. So come in here and click on this and hit approve. So we try to make it easy, right? Okay. So how do we make it easy? Well, what we do is we give them the ability to approve through email. So all of that content that we capture in the form, right? Like description, information, quantity, cost, right? all of that flows up into this email. And now as the approver, I can click in to that task that we were just in, right? If I click here, it's going to take me to that task, right? And I can approve from here, right? Here we go, approved and I send back, right? But I can also approve through what we call a lazy approval through email. Super easy, right? All I have to do is hit respond, click the appropriate box, this is approved, right? And notes get added to the task. Easy. They don't even have to see it. I don't even know if this, they're like, I don't even know what this thing is, right? Where? SharePoint? Who? I don't know. But all I know is I hit approved and it's approved, right? So that just makes it a very simple approval process for a task approver, right? Now, the other way that we've gone about this is Teams. I mean, really, since the pandemic hit, Teams has been kind of the forefront of the communication space in Office 365. There's two options inside of Teams. Okay, you're seeing me getting blown up right here. One is an actual message in Teams, right? Hey, you need to approve this. And here's a link to the request, and they can approve it through what we call an adaptive card. Basically, it's the same thing via email, but now as a Teams message, right? It's approved. Gives them that same option. So if you have your Teams, your Teams warriors working on messaging every day, they have that ability to do through Teams. The other option is using this Teams app. So they can, as an end user, you can use it to submit requests through here, view statuses on their purchase request, right? And if they are an approver, approve that task through the system, right? That same option, that same ability they would have to go in and approve the task on the back end, they now can do from the app, the Teams app as well, which then leans into the mobile, right? Is it mobile friendly? Absolutely. It's on there. It can be in their Outlook, app on their phone, Teams app on their phone, Teams app on client, Teams app on browser. It gives them the ability to access the application in a slew of different ways, but still have a space for your back-end staff, your accounting team, your purchasing team to pull information out of the application, reporting by different metrics, right? Hey, show me the purchase request by department, by cost. Show me the purchase request by month. Give me all the different statuses, pending submission, pending approval, open, right? So now we have a space for, that team to live in, permission specifically for them, being able to pull content out and report on it, but then making it easy for, say, end users or approvers to interact with the application. Maybe not even know that this URL exists, but know that they came to Teams and they had approved, or they went into their email and they had approved, and the workflow ran, right? So now, once that works its way through its approval process, whatever levels, right? Level 2, through 500, really. I mean, however many of you want, until the rec becomes approved. So now here's interesting, right? So these are approved, right? Purchase rec 12, 13, 23. So you can see here, send a NetSuite. This is where the ERP conversation comes in. And so it's going to shift a little bit more technical. I'm not going to go too far into the weeds. I just want to talk about it. So essentially, most folks that we deal with in this instance, no, not most, everyone, in this particular instance, working with our purchasing tool, they do their actual purchasing or PO generation in their ERP system, right? I mean, I hear the same story over and over again. Oh, the ERP is great for PO generation, but the approvals lax, right? And so we've just created a very easy and very seamless approval process where we tracked all of the, what needed to be purchased. We've tracked everyone who needed to approve it and their comments, right? Easy, clean, straightforward. Now what happens? Well, the easy way, the cost-effective way, is the purchasing team takes that information and they populate it into the ERP system, basically duplicate data entry, which is fine, right? It'll be a really quick and easy way to get the application up and running. Hey, I just want to capture information on the form, the approval process, and then we'll transfer the information over to the PO, right? That's no big deal. I will say most don't go with that option. When we're talking about this, it's typically a full-blown integration. And what does a full-blown integration mean? Good question. I always ask that. Probably shouldn't just make that blanket statement. What I mean by that is there's a few different options. So as a part of our NITRO Studio tool set and our workflow tool, we have the ability to run workflows, let's say on the purchase request list when an item is modified, right? So let's say the status is equal to approved or whatever, right? Let's say the setting is it setting? No, it's conditions. So if I know my own tool, right? You know, the approval decision is equal to approved. Right? Everything's approved. Here's what we're gonna do. We can either create a live sync, meaning it's happening in real time. We're querying that list to pull in our push information. We're querying that SQL backend table using a web service to push and pull information from the ERP system. As soon as that rec gets approved, it populates all the columns in the SharePoint list, and the purchase request list, and the SharePoint site, and matches them to the corresponding table in the ERP system. Table list, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? Same thing. So we're posting information. Now, on the flip side, we can also get information. That's important as well. So why is that important? This has come up recently. Like, let's say you're housing your vendors, right? That's something that kind of goes under the radar when talking about purchasing, is what I do with my vendors. And let's say you're holding a vendor list or account codes, GL codes in the ERP system. And you're like, I don't want Ryan in sales and operations to pick his GL code. That's a no-no. I want to populate that from the ERP system. So this web service, this real-time integration, can get information from there as well too. So when we go back to that form, that original purchase request form, and we see things like this drop-down list for vendor, or this drop-down list for accounting code, this information can be populated from those ERP systems in real time as well. Again, it always comes down to cost, right, versus benefit. It can be in real time, or the more cost-effective side is, hey, we download it, we pull that information into a CSV if it doesn't change regularly, and we import it into the SharePoint list, like data migration. Simple, but if it's ever changing, or if it changes like frequently, I would say once a week or a couple times a month, then you want that real time. That's a possibility. So that's one integration with the ERP system, the post and the get. I'm going to post information to the ERP to generate a PO once all the appropriate information is captured in the purchase rec, i.e. who are they, what are they purchasing, cost, who approved it, etc. Right? The second option is a schedule, right? So in this case, I'm invoking a web service, right? Based on the condition, right? The approval decision. Now the other option is, and I will say this is probably the more common of the two, is we do a schedule every day. Now I'm in settings. See, I was just ahead of myself. Now I know where I'm at. Settings. Test. Workflow. Okay, every day at 6 p.m. I want to run this workflow. I want to schedule this workflow. So that means all the purchase recs done on that day are then dumped into, through the same option, right? Are dumped into the ERP system now. I tend to lean more towards this. I think from a costing perspective and from like a latency and runtime perspective, I think it's a little bit more efficient. Like I said, both are options. Plus it's just kind of, I don't know, it's clean. For me, I like clean and easy. Okay, dump, everything moves over, right? POs get generated. Simple. Now the other option here too with the sync and, well, let's talk about both. Because we've talked about, so far, we've talked about its connection with the ERP system and modified. The connection with the ERP system from a, rec perspective, populating correct information on the rec and then pushing the rec into the PO system once it's approved or, on that schedule, right, after a certain time frame. Now the other option is, or no, not other option. Once we finished or finalized that PO in the system, in the ERP system, right? We've captured everything, it's approved, it's been created and finished in the PO system. Now you're like, hey, I want to notify Ryan that his rec's been approved, right? Or, whatever, it's been done and dusted. And, he can go in and expect that this is going to be, received on this day at this time, right? Whatever. That information is stored in the ERP system. We're going to use that same principle in reverse. A two-way sync to say like, okay, PO's done. That web service that's running is going to get information from the PO once it hits a certain status. And it's going to notify the appropriate people internally, maybe update the record. One of the things that we do offer inside of the purchase system in SharePoint is the receival of items. So let's take this purchase rec, create a PO in our system, right? So it populates that information from the ERP system, auto creates the PO for us. And now we just want to receive the goods, right? Hey, PO's been created, it's on order, and I don't want to have to track down Ryan to see if he got his 10 friggin' licenses of Windows, right? That's not what I want. I need Ryan to go in and update the received quantity to let me know that these have been completed or whatever, right? So it gives us that ability to say like, okay, our side's done. It's been, we received the PO or the PR and its approval process. The PO has been generated. It's on order. Now I want, either my team, the purchasing team, or the purchase rec submitter to go in and say like, yeah, we got these items. Yes, they've been received. Oh, I can't do that. That's lovely in the sense that it has that fail safe. Let everyone know that, yep, the loop's closed, the circle's closed, right? It's passed from SharePoint to ERP, back to SharePoint. The person has said like, yep, item has been received, and now we can put a full stop on this workflow, this purchase rec system. And it's seamless and easy for everyone, really. I mean, the transition back and forth from ERP to SharePoint is clean and efficient. And from the purchasing team or the AP team's perspective, if you have people in different locations spread out all over the world, and you don't want to hammer people to say like, hey, did you receive this at X date and X time? We also give them that ability to come in and update that received quantity, right? Easy, clean, efficient. Right? The setup takes a little bit of time, working through your various requirements. Again, going back to what Krista said at the top of the hour, everyone's requirements are a little bit different. But if you are interested, I mean, I think this is the next step for me. Like, you get on a call with me and my buddy James, we talk through this workflow with you, talk about what you want to do, how that looks like with your ERP system, and we give you a plan forward. Hey, these are the steps. This is the time it's going to take. This is the cost it's going to do to put it all in place for you, and then put a project plan and get you rolling. I mean, I make it, obviously I oversimplify, I make it sound easy, but it's just because we've done it so many times, like it has become pretty easy. So yeah, I encourage you, if this has sparked interest at all, to reach out. Give me a shout, be happy to have a chat, be happy to answer any questions too. And then yeah, we'll go from there. But I wanted to keep it around 30 minutes, and we're even a little under, so I appreciate you guys sitting through the spiel. Like I said, it's very high level, and those more in-depth, those more nitty-gritty finite calls, those are the fun ones, but those are the one-on-ones as well. So when you're ready, just again, give us a shout. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Krista, thanks for hosting, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ryan.